go. And we're live, everybody. Come on in, everybody. Come on in. This is the American Firearms Association show. We have quite a few things to talk about. A lot of questions we've been getting from a lot of gun owners all across the country about the gun control in D.C., about where the hell is the NRA and other gun groups on this gun control. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about it. We're going to be taking a lot of questions in the comment section. So let us know where you're watching from. And then once that settles down for a minute, go ahead, ask us questions about the gun control, about whatever is on your mind. We'll be happy to interact with those things tonight. This isn't as much of a legislative alert, I would say, right, Chris? This isn't as much of one of those shows like we've done. This is just a lot of details and a conversation we want to have with you guys about what's going on in D.C. And kind of the broader, I would say, the broader scope of the gun control fight that we're facing right now.
Yeah. I guess everybody's
Chris,
jumping in.
You seem to have lost your audio. Either you lost your audio or I lost my audio.
No, I hear you.
Not
hear me?
No audio from you, Chris.
Uh-oh. That's weird.
Well, we'll let him figure it out for a minute, guys. Let me know. Jeff says, when's the revolution starting? Let us know where you're watching from. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that gun owners and or rather the GOP, these rhino Republicans in Washington, are selling us out. Let's see. Chris, try it again once.
Yeah, can you hear me, Ben?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, that was weird. Mike DeWine, the real Mike DeWine from Ohio, says in the comment section, I can hear both.
Here we go.
So he's the pro-gun, freedom-loving Mike DeWine, not the fake. Well, actually, we had to whack his ass with a political boat paddle, but we got Mike DeWine to sign constitutional carry. For those of you watching in Ohio today, and take this as some encouragement all across the country, it is constitutional carry day in Ohio. Ohio was the 24th state to pass this beautiful piece of legislation, and as Washington, D.C. falls into the mire of the swamp, Ohioans can hold their heads proud and high today because it is constitutional carry day. You no longer have to beg your government for permission to exercise your freedoms, and we'll take it. We need some good news for everybody. So
I agree with that. That's fantastic. I mean, Ohio's a giant mega red state run by a lot of rhinos, right? It's not usually those states that pass pro-gun bills, but I would say that Ohio gun owners members, and I know there's a lot of American Firearms Association members mixed in there, got that friggin' job done. And that's a huge lift. And in many ways, we're grateful for what happened there because passage of these major pro-gun bills, politics is kind of weighing everything in the balance, right? Right now we're facing gun control because all the left, they're stacking all of these shootings into their side and tipping the scales in their direction. But to have passed major pro-gun bills in states like Ohio and Georgia, I know huge lift for constitutional carry in Georgia just a few months ago, goes a long ways towards tipping the scales in our direction. So,
and we knew very much when we were working so hard to pass constitutional carry in Ohio, we knew that we were not only setting precedent by becoming really the first major Republican rhino-run state to do it, but also we were shutting down red flag gun confiscation laws. And don't forget, before Mike DeWine was ever in there, you had John Kasich bragging to the press about his push for red flag gun confiscation laws. And his whole point was, if we can pass it here in the state of Ohio, the red state of Ohio, it will send the message to the rest of the country that you guys can do it too. And how much have we heard this in the last 2 weeks about how Florida passed it in 2018? Yes. And that's why we should do it now too. And the Democrats have been beating the hell out of the Republicans with that talking point. So we knew very well at Ohio gun owners what we were doing. We were stealing the ability for these rhino pukes and the Democrats to use our state of Ohio as a talking point on their national gun control agenda. So here's a great big giant to you in the fake news media
Yeah.
and the rhinos. Go yourself. We got you, and we took it all right back in Ohio. So
The talking points went the opposite direction.
yeah,
Now nobody
exactly.
wants to talk about Ohio because they don't want to talk about the rhino governor who said he was going to pass red flag laws and
Exactly.
then signed constitutional carry.
And stand your ground law, I might add.
Oh yeah.
All after the Dayton shooting on August 4th of 2019. He said he was going to pass assault weapons ban, high capacity magazine ban, red flag gun confiscation law. He got none of that. Instead, he was forced to sign stand your ground law and constitutional carry into law. And that's only because the members of Ohio gun owners. So anyway.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I just want to stop for a second and say that I love you people who are watching this show right now. Coming on here day after day. It's like to me, it's like a reunion. We spend all day talking with crappy politicians, monitoring the Twitterverse, talking with staffers and people on Capitol Hill, standing up against gun control organizations and their huge rallies at state capitals and in DC. All of these things, they happen incessantly, constantly. We answer the phones. You get death threats from lefties because we own guns, because we're Second Amendment organizations, all of these things. So to me, anytime I can come on here and watch this comment section stroll with all of the things that I think myself, sure makes me understand that we're not alone in this fight. I hope you guys understand we're not alone in this fight. And thank you for all you guys do to help us. And by God, to help yourselves defend our Second Amendment rights, man. It's something else.
Yeah. So let's just dive into a real quick recap. As you guys can probably see, this live stream tonight is a little bit more conversational, but I'm just going to give you a recap of the federal gun control bill that they've all decided to agree to on a framework basis. All the Democrats, at least 10 Republicans. The number one big problem with it is that it includes a federal funding portion for states to implement and pass their own red flag gun confiscation laws. Okay. And if you've ever worked in politics before, it's almost impossible for any legislator at the state level to not have their hand out trying to get federal money. It's like ingrained in every single one of them. And so what happens, and that's what makes this bill so dangerous. And the damn Democrats and the Republicans know that they're essentially bribing the states. And it's a way for them to punish the states that don't do it. Because essentially the Republicans, I'm kind of messing this up here. The legislators themselves will adopt this mentality, this mindset. Well, we may as well just pass the red flag gun confiscation law now. It's going to have to happen at some point. If we don't do it now,
right.
Well, we're going to have to pay for it ourselves. So we may as well reach our hand out into that government pot, accept the chains of slavery, put them on us, is what they say. And they're essentially bribing the states. That's the first bad part about it. I don't know if you had anything to add to that, Ben, but
I mean, you just said it, but lying rhinos like Lindsey Graham sit there and say, we won't pass a red flag bill that doesn't have so-called due process rights in it. We won't pass a red flag bill that doesn't have due process. Hey, I almost said things that I can't say on a family-friendly show. Hey, loser, if you pass a bill that funds red flags, what you're doing is saying California or whatever state can pass as bad of a red flag bill as they want to, and this money is going to pay for it.
Yeah. No strings, no restrictions.
You cannot say that this money that you're going to pass for red flag funding is going to somehow pay for good red flag laws to be passed. You have no idea what these laws are going to look like when they get rammed through in Democrat and rhino-controlled states all across the country. These people are straight up liars. They lie right to your face. And they, frankly, they hope that Americans just have no idea what they're even looking at, what this legislation means. It's a total, you cannot be a Republican and vote for any form of red flag laws or red flag funding.
Yeah.
Full stop.
By definition, a red flag law circumvents due process. That's the way it is. So that's the first big problem with it. Federal funding for red flag laws at the state level, and the federal government will have no control over whether or not due process is included. So that's a great big fat effing lie. Number two, it's got billions of dollars in new funding for mental health and school safety. Now, for those of you watching in Ohio, there's another example of this. We had a bill called House Bill 123. It was basically a funding bill for Sandy Hook Promise and Moms Demand Action, these gun control organizations, to come in and teach mental health programming and social inclusion programming and suicide prevention programming in our schools, essentially letting the foxes into the schools to guard the hen house. Mental health, when you hear that in this whole debate, these mental health professionals are the same a-holes who think that it's okay to teach kids as at 5 and 6 years old about transgender insanity. Okay, that's billions of dollars in funding for this garbage that's built into this. That's number two. Number three, it's an expansion
Republicans are voting for this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the Matt Walsh, What is a Woman? If anybody's watched that, Matt Walsh, he did this documentary, What is a Woman? And these therapists are telling them that children as young as 13 years old are electing to go through gender reassignment surgeries at 13 years old to totally annihilate their own gender, to cause lifelong harm, puberty blockers, irreversible damage. That is what this funding will cause. And again, all of these Republicans are voting for it.
Yeah. And just like the federal red flag law, which has no oversight at the state level, neither will this have any oversight at the state level. And I guarantee nobody has seen the curriculums for this garbage, and nor will they, because it teaches everything that Ben just talked about. So that's number two, mental health funding, gun control funding. And then number three, it closes the quote unquote so-called boyfriend loophole, so that it's basically an expansion of Lautenberg. And they want to expand the definition of what a domestic partner is defined as, so that if anybody's ever convicted of a domestic order, domestic violation, that they lose their gun rights for life. If you've ever been through divorce, if you've ever been through anything like that, you know exactly what a debauched and corrupt system this is. You get into the court system like that, the judges themselves are corrupt, the case handlers are corrupt, and they use this stuff very deliberately against you. So that you have to, so that a friend of mine went through this exact same thing, and he was forced to choose: do I choose my gun rights being taken away from me for life, or do I choose my kids? That's what they boil it down to. So they lather up all these charges, and they say, well, it's your choice. Here's your due process. You get to choose. You want your kids or your freedom, and that's the way this works across the board. So they're expanding that. And then another one, and I don't quite understand this one either, because they say their first ever federal law against straw purchasing. Well, guess what? It's already against that. So I don't quite understand it. I think it's got to do with this whole idea of an iron pipeline that they're trying to create out of executive fiat.
Yeah, out of nothing.
But the other massive one that really burns my ass, and I'm sure it probably burns yours right now too, is that they are enhancing the background check for anybody under 21 years old. So if you're 18 years old, if you're 19 years old, if you're 20 years old, they are opening up your juvenile records in this process to make sure that you haven't done anything bad as a 13-year-old or a 12-year-old. So you can get married, you can have kids, you can have a family, you can join the military, you can pay taxes, but you cannot buy a rifle anymore underneath this proposal. You can give your life for your country, but you can't defend your life against a thug or a tyrant on the street.
We'll give you a fully automatic rifle and ship you overseas.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you can do all of those things. Also, again and again, you can be 13 years old and decide to get your manhood chopped off, and that's cool. You are free to do that. Your brain works fine. You are not mentally impaired. You're not immature. You're not too young to make these choices at all. 13 years old, you're golden. You can change your life forever. But you can't carry a gun. You can't buy an AR-15. And you know, I live in Minnesota, and I live not too far from Alexandria, Minnesota. Every single year, we hold the largest trap shoot, I think, anywhere in America. I think
it's the largest shooting event anywhere
in
America.
The largest shooting event?
Yes.
10,000 students from all across the country come to Alexandria, Minnesota, and there's a trap shoot competition there. And they have like a trap shoot line that's maybe, I don't know, 300 or 400 yards long, right? Just lined with kids. And
Beautiful.
I think I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head now, but it's something like 3 or 4 million shotgun shells are shot over the course of like 4 days or something like that. 10,000 students from thousands of high schools all across the country get together for this shoot in Alexandria, Minnesota. It's the world's largest trap shoot, maybe the largest shoot of any kind in America. And to my knowledge, in all the years they've done this shoot with kids, nobody has ever gotten harmed. Nobody's ever gotten accidentally shot. Nobody ever went off the rails intentionally and shot anybody. Millions of rounds shot by 10,000 high school age children and young adults. Nobody gets hurt. But now, from 18, 19, 20, these people all across the country would be totally banned from doing this, from owning an AR-15. Nah. Take it away from your purple-haired, basement-dwelling, genderless,
gauged out.
Inner city gauged out kids. Take it away from them, okay? Take it away from them. Don't take it away from our farm kids. Don't take it away from true blue, red, white, and blue American kids who are taught right, who are raised right, whose parents taught them right, who've been taught how to use firearms, how to be safe with them, how to use them responsibly. Don't lump our kids in with your kids of you psycho lefties, because our kids can use firearms better than any left-wing Democrat adult probably in the entire country. But they ram all of this stuff into this bill, and again, Republicans are about to vote on this stuff.
Yeah. And I'm gonna stop with this last one. I think there's a few more parts that are floating around out there. Of course, we've not seen language on this yet, folks. Again, this is the framework that these Republicans and Democrats have all come together and decided that they're going to work on. But the last one that I'll just throw out there for right now is there's gonna be some clarification of the laws regarding who needs to register as a licensed gun dealer. To make sure that all truly commercial sellers are doing background checks. Folks, we fully anticipate this is going to target anybody who sets up a private table at a gun show to sell off their personal firearms. And this will obviously be the focal point. This is like the chassis that they want to get in place so they can come back and mandate total universal gun registration, aka universal background check. So a form of this is going to be in there. Because
this stuff isn't going to stop the crime. They claim it's going to stop. You see?
No.
So when the crime doesn't stop because of their bullshit policies that aren't designed to stop crime,
right?
The only possibility they have,
they're going to be right back
come back and say, well, clearly what happened here is we didn't have enough data in this background check system. We didn't have enough data going into here. We need to expand this over here. We need to raise it from 21 years old to 25 years old to buy firearms.
Exactly.
These bills, these policies will not stop the crime. And so they will come back in like a month and demand more. We get nothing. Republicans, voters, Republican politicians get nothing.
The very bare minimum that these dumbass Republicans should be demanding is that we repeal the Gun-Free School Zones Act. It's very obvious to anybody who takes an objective look at this that these criminals and cowards that target these schools are targeting them deliberately because they know they are target-rich environments for their sick, twisted fantasies of murdering innocent people. But are the Republicans even trying to bring this to the forefront?
Why would they do that when the NRA is the ones who want to keep gun-free school zones in line?
Exactly. Play it.
Oh, would you like to know? Would you like to hear Wayne LaPierre with the NRA, the Great National Rifle Association? Would you like to hear him voice his support for gun-free school zones, which have been getting our children killed and keeping good parents, honest, hardworking, responsible parents from carrying a concealed pistol when they're with their kids at their school, at sporting events? Would you like to hear Wayne LaPierre speak up in support of gun-free school zones? Here, listen to this once.
We believe in absolutely gun-free, zero-tolerance, totally safe schools.
Cute.
Because he is a dumbass. And so, Ben, now that we've seen how destructive and deadly that policy has been for decades now, starting with Columbine, have they changed their course, and are they demanding right now that their NRA A-rated and endorsed politicians who are jumping all over this freaking bill right now, what are they telling them to do?
They're telling them to vote for this stuff. They're telling them to vote for this stuff. I mean, I don't know if everybody recognizes this or not, but the NRA has endorsed all of these Republicans who are lining up to vote for this gun control. They're all endorsed.
I'm going to throw a graphic up here. If for those of you who watched last night, you probably already saw this graphic, but this is the 10 Republicans. I'm just going to throw it up here right now. These are the 10 Republicans that are openly joining with Chuck Schumer and Chris Murphy in bragging about their involvement in this process. You've got John Cornyn from Texas. He's the Republican lead on this. You've got Tom Tillis and Richard Burr, both from the state of North Carolina. You've got Roy Blunt from the state of Missouri. You've got Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. You've got Susan Collins from Maine. You've got Lindsey Grahamnesty. You've got from South Carolina. You got Rob Portman from Ohio. Disgrace. You got Mitt Romney from God knows where. He just moves all around the country and abuses people's votes. I think he's currently the U.S. Senator from Utah. And then you've got Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania. Pat Toomey, Rob Portman, Roy Blunt, Richard Burr. 4 of these 6 right here are not running for re-election. They're never facing the voters again. And they've essentially farmed the gun voters their entire careers.
Right.
And now they're not running again. So now they're going to stab them right in the back. So that was the 10. Take a good look at them right there. Let's go over here. This is a list of the money that has been donated by the NRA to these politicians. Mitt Romney, he was on that list just now. Richard Burr is on the list. Roy Blunt is on the list. Tom Tillis is on the list. Marco Rubio has his hands all over this thing because he is the Senate Republican bill sponsor for red flag gun confiscation laws. Rob Portman is on the list. Bill Cassidy is on the list. Pat Toomey. And look at this, folks. These people have been NRA endorsed A-rated, and they've been given millions and millions and millions of dollars of NRA member money for decades.
That's gun owner money on the right-hand side.
Yeah.
Donations to those people. The NRA gave $13,647,676 to Mitt fucking Romney. Mitt Romney. You know where the money came from, don't you? If you've ever given a dime to the NRA, you gave Mitt Romney nearly $14 million. Combined of the people in that top 10 list right there, the NRA, and this is money going just to the people who are confirmed to be in support of this gun control package that's being written and rolled out right now on the American people.
How much?
The NRA has given $37,183,650 to those rhino Republicans who are about to pass everything we've just talked about here. The red flag funding bill, raising the age from 18 to 21, the Lautenberg expansion, the expanded background checks. If you ever gave a dime to the NRA, $37,183,000 went to those people. Honestly, if you've ever been a member, sound off in the comments section. Did you know that was happening? Did you know that was happening? And now it's been what, 7, 8, 9 days since this big push really kicked off. This gun control being passed through the House, this package being rolled out in the Senate with this all the different descriptions of what the bill is intended to do. And do you know what we heard from the NRA? You know what you've heard from the American Firearms Association? It's been nonstop pressure on these politicians. It's been nonstop pressure on the Senate and on Republicans in the Senate and everybody in the House. It's been all of this for days and days, a nonstop war. And what we got from the NRA is total silence. Total silence. They came out. Chris, do you happen to have that? Here, I have that handy. I got it right here. I'll read it to you. Here's what the NRA had to say. They said, listen to this. You're going to love it. You're going to love this. The NRA is committed to real solutions to help stop violence in our communities. We encourage our elected officials to provide more resources to secure our schools, fix our severely broken mental health system, and support law enforcement. All nice little talking points. As is our policy, the NRA does not take positions on frameworks. We will make our position known when the full text of the bill is available for review. There you have it. So while every moment we breathe, moms demand action, every town for gun safety, Giffords, mayors, like all of these people are going hog wild. They're spending millions and millions of dollars right now to put major pressure on the Senate to make sure they have the 10 votes they need to pass this gun control package. And right now in the NRA, who has historically, I'm sure it's significantly less now, has historically raised between $150 and $300 million a year. Per year, they come out and say, we don't take positions on frameworks. Even if frameworks raise the age from 18 to 21, pass red flag gun confiscation funding to all 50 states, and screw gun owners in about 5 different ways, they're not going to say a word. So when the NRA decides to open their stupid yaps, this fight's going to be 98% over.
Done. Yeah.
It's going to be
done.
over. It's going to be over.
I have a tweet here that I want to see if I can get up on the screen for everybody. Let me see if I can get this to pop real quick. Just check this out, everybody. This goes right along with what Ben is talking about here. The Jake Sherman, Jake Sherman is arguably one of the most well-connected reporters in Washington, D.C. He's the founder of a news service called Punchbowl, and he's got connections all over Capitol Hill. He tweeted today. He's like, Durbin. We're talking about Dick Durbin, okay, the Democrat, like, gun control godfather of Washington, D.C. Dick Durbin just told us that his Judiciary Committee aides will help the gun control group draft their legislative texts. They have subject matter expertise. It does not get more freaking obvious than when you have Democrat Dick Durbin writing the effing bill that you have to come out against the damn bill.
Well, we have a policy. We don't talk about framework bills. We don't talk about framework bills. You know, here's you see, Chris, you were in DC for a whole bunch of last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You guys were up there. I know a whole bunch of the AFA team was in DC fighting this, talking and working closely with some great pro-gun congressmen and congresswomen up there. Really tremendous. And you didn't see the NRA in DC. They weren't talking with anybody.
No.
They weren't putting pressure on anyone. But when the American Firearms Association and Georgia gun owners passed constitutional carry in Georgia, the NRA instantly puts one of their lobbyists on an airplane, and they fly them to whatever state is about to pass pro-gun legislation, and the NRA marches in there, and they quickly get their picture with the governor and go, NRA-backed constitutional carry passes in Georgia or passes in whatever state. I'm sure they did it in Ohio.
They did.
It's the same story. Every time there's a victory to be had, they can jet set some loser lobbyist from who knows what state they live in down to whatever state pro-gun bills are passing in, and they will take the credit because, by God, taking the credit for pro-gun bills that get passed is a really good way to make more money, because gun owners who don't know what's going on, unlike the people who are watching this show, gun owners might go, oh my gosh, the NRA must have had a big hand in getting that passed, and they didn't do anything. But now, when the biggest gun control bill in 30 years is about to be passed in Washington, D.C., funny how their lobbyists aren't flying out to Washington to take pictures with any politicians or to maybe tell their 10 endorsed candidates who they gave $37 million of donor money to, hey, we gave you $37 million. Do you think that maybe you could vote no on these gun control bills?
I'm just going to be a little bit crass here, but if the NRA leadership team had simply taken that $37 million and rented a great big giant cruise ship, and they all just spent it on hookers and blow, it would have been a far more judicious and prudent expenditure of that freaking money. Sure. Because right now, all we're getting is screwed. Again, I'm going to throw this graphic up there. This is ranked in order of who has received the most money from the NRA. Okay. Right. The list goes down below this to include a whole bunch of Republicans and stuff that are no longer in office. Okay. So this is the ranked giving by the NRA to these people. And it's literally the people who are screwing gun owners the hardest right now.
Are getting the most
very
money.
People, what's that?
Are getting the most money.
Yeah. They got the most money and they're screwing us the most. And we could talk about Joni Ernst. You can see her on there. She's at $3.1 million. Okay. Has she opened her mouth in opposition to any of this stuff? No. So we could add that to the $37,183,000 and get an even bigger number. We're over $40 million at that point.
The reality is, for everybody who calls, like if you were to call if you were to call Marco Rubio, or if you were to call Rob Portman, or if you were to call, Mitch McConnell or Mitt Romney or any of these people, Roy Blunt, if you were to call their offices and say, hi, my name's so-and-so, I'm a gun owner, and I want you to vote against this gun control, they would immediately tell you that one of the first things out of their mouth is, well, I want you to know Senator Blunt has an NRA A rating. Okay. He's a pro-gun champion, and we're going to make sure that whatever passes ain't going to be too bad. Right. And then when the gun control advocates call and they go, my name's so-and-so, and I demand you pass this gun control, then they say, well, we're working on this great bill with John Cornyn and with Dick Blumenthal and with all of these people, and we're gonna get something passed here. They're playing both sides the entire time, and the NRA is allowing it to happen.
They're playing us. They're not playing the freaking left. The left is getting exactly what they damn well want.
Right. Oh, it's true. Yeah. It's I see a lot of people in the comments section saying this is why I left the NRA. I left the NRA 5 years ago. Some folks were saying the reality is, and what you said, Chris, about going out on a cruise ship is 100% true, because some people got it in their heads, and it's propaganda is what it is, but they got it in their heads a long time ago, this phrase, and we've all heard it before. Well, if the NRA wasn't here, a lot worse things would have happened over the years. And the NRA is the last thing standing in the way. The reality is that if the NRA wasn't here at all, there would be a giant vacuum that wouldn't have lasted more than about 2 months. Okay. Yeah. If the NRA would just float away on a cruise ship, like Chris said, Republicans would have to start dealing entirely with organizations like the American Firearms Association, who you're watching right now. It's precisely because the NRA exists and is funding these politicians to the tune of $40 million to those top 10. It's because they're giving their A ratings to Republicans, rhinos, who are about to pass this gun control. It's because of the NRA that these Republicans are being so able to turn their back on gun owners right now and say, I don't have to listen to you. I've got the backing of the NRA.
Yeah.
If Wayne LaPierre, and here's the reality, if Wayne LaPierre would if he walked out in front of his $6 million mansion in his boxer shorts and pulled his phone out and said, if a single one of you Republicans votes for this gun control bill, the NRA is going to come after you in the elections. You're going to be in big freaking trouble. The NRA opposes all of this all the time, period. Vote at your own peril. Click. And then posted that on the NRA's social media. It would be done. The gun control would be done.
Over.
It would be over. Totally over. But the reality is, the opposite is true.
And you know what? It would go from a $240 million a year organization to a $600 million a year organization in about 24 hours.
Hell,
because everybody who has dropped off of them in the last 5 years would be back in black, baby, and they'd be on like Donkey Kong. On like Donkey Kong. This whole battle would be over if the NRA was the monster that the radical left portrays them to be. All they have to do is become the monster, fulfill the prophecy, be that big, nasty organization for freedom that you keep getting attacked as in the media. And all this is done. John Cornyn, you're going to get your NRA A rating yanked from you, and we will come into the state of Texas, and we will recruit and fund a primary opponent against you. You knock this off. And all the way down the board. All the way down the board. Yeah, there's several people who are not running for re-election, but that's not enough to get this bill over the line. Not at all.
No.
So the NRA could shut this down in 5 minutes.
But they so you had that nice little picture of Wayne LaPierre in his boxer shorts in front of a $6 million mansion. The reality is that is that he's in his boxer shorts in front of a $6 million mansion, but he's making the other phone calls. He's shooting the other videos.
Right.
See, like
Right.
the NRA supports red flag gun confiscation laws. They have for years. And before you go, well, that's not true. That can't really be right. Here it is, straight from Wayne LaPierre's number 2, Chris Cox, who was the executive director of the NRA for years. Here's Chris Cox telling Congress to pass funding for red flag laws. Here it is. Listen for yourself.
Importantly, we need to stop dangerous people before they act. So Congress should provide funding for states to adopt risk protection orders. This can help prevent violent behavior before it turns into a tragedy. These laws allow a court to intervene and temporarily remove firearms when a person threatens violence to themselves or others. To be effective and constitutional, they should have strong due process protections and require that the person get treatment.
Yeah, you should get treatment. So when the doctor decides that you own too many guns, or that your AFA sticker on your truck is too right wing, or if they see a post on Facebook saying "Let's go Brandon," and your doctor decides that you should have your guns taken away, and they red flag you, Chris Cox wants to make sure you get treatment. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I saw on Twitter today, somebody tweeted, they're like, red flag laws sound great until you realize that you're labeled crazy for thinking that 5-year-olds shouldn't attend drag shows. And tonight on Tucker, when he was talking about it, he was making the point very clearly. We're going into a way different America, and it's not impossible at all to think that 5 years down the road they could pass laws that mandate that your kids attend certain schools, and if you don't believe in the government truth department's propaganda, you're red flagged. This is all about, it's always been about disarming your political opposition. And that's what this boils down to. And that's where the NRA is just walking away from their jobs.
Yeah. I would say, I mean, to this, my thought is that it's long past time for a totally new breed of Republican, of American patriot. You know, I think in the last 2 years, a lot of parents have woken up to the fact that their kids are being destroyed in government schools.
Yeah.
Right. We've seen Merrick Garland, targeting parents as domestic terrorists simply because they show up at their own child's school board meetings to say, I don't like my child being indoctrinated with your leftist bullshit. So a lot of parents have woken up about these types of things. It's time for all of us to let go of the old way of trusting the George Bush rhino Republican types, the old style. Call it your dad or your granddad's Republicans. Time for those people to go the way of the dodo, and it's time for fighters. It's time for real patriots, people with an eye for the future, to stand up and lead the gun rights movement, to lead the Republican Party, to lead conservatism into the future. Because if we sit here and try to do this ho hum gee shucks 1984 style, I'm just a good old boy, Republican style whatever, who trusts these people, who donates to these people, who believes these people's lies, who listens to the bullshit talking points at election season or whatever that comes out of these politicians' mouths. If we decide to stay the old way, then in my opinion, we deserve everything we get.
Yeah.
We deserve everything we get. It's time for us to bounce this old way out. That is the reason the American Firearms Association was formed, because the other gun rights organizations, not just the NRA, but others, because they had failed for years and years and years. Either they were supporting gun control, or they were sitting on the sidelines doing nothing, or they made themselves totally irrelevant. Nobody fears these organizations. Nobody stands up and fights for gun owners. And that's what we're doing here with the American Firearms Association. So I'm not ashamed to throw a plug in there, guys. If you agree with this method, with this mindset, with this worldview, feel free to join us. Go to www.joinafa.org. It's on the bottom of the screen here. You can see. Become a member of the American Firearms Association. We're not going to do the things that these politicians do. And that the NRA has done. We're going to do what we have done since we began, and that is continue to grow and fight like hell to stop these people. Has to happen.
Yeah. And I hate to kind of wade into these waters too much. I mean, I know we've been focusing quite a bit here on the NRA, but it has to be more than just like this idea that the purity of our position makes us worthy of support. Again, Ben, I'd
Right.
throw in what you talked about there about, these organizations that have been around for decades and raking in, honestly, millions and millions of dollars over the decades. And what has it bought? What has it resulted in? What is it resulting in right now? These are questions that need to be asked by people who are discerning and who are critical in their thinking about these subjects. I know that, Gun Owners of America has been around a very long time. These people have for years, well, up until I guess this year anyway, they have claimed to be the No Compromise federal group based out of Washington, D.C. And maybe under Larry Pratt back in the day, they were No Compromise. They decided to go away from that model this summer or this last spring out in Wyoming when they got behind a very awful watered down version of a fake version of SEPA, and they just decided that they were no longer going to be that No Compromise gun rights organization and start instead trying to pass bills that have support bills that have the greatest chance of passing. And they're on board with watering this stuff down. But I mean, it has to be more than a position and a purity of thought when it comes to the subject matter. We are living in a time of total cultural war. And this is politically speaking, for those of you who would try to abuse the words that I just said, but we need to be aggressive and willing to say things and expose things and be confrontational in the way we go about these things that go way beyond a freaking Sunday school picnic. And honestly, that's the way Gun Owners of America has fought for years. It's a great big Sunday school class. It has to be so much more than that. It has to be so much more than that. The only reason why we were able to pass constitutional carry, like in Ohio and Georgia this year, for example, is because we were cutthroat. For those of you who are still watching from Ohio gun owners, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have been in their faces. We've been in their districts. We have been going after them viciously at election time. We're not like just this great big endorsement machine. I mean, honestly, that's at the end of the day, that's like their confrontational motive of doing politics. And that's just total lame bullshit that loses fights. It's losing the biggest fight in a generation right now. It's a losing tactic.
I mean, here's again, I think, Chris, it just goes back to what I was saying a couple of minutes ago. We need big energy, new blood, a new vision for the Second Amendment. Okay. I mean, Gun Owners of America, for what they've done or not done. I see State Senator Anthony Bouchard from Wyoming is commenting, talking about how Gun Owners of America had really screwed over the state of Wyoming with the Second Amendment Preservation Act, watered down garbage bill that was passed out there. We agree with Senator Bouchard.
Awful.
It was a terrible, terrible bill, pushed by a bunch of rhinos, just like the ones we're facing in Washington. But, you know, Gunners of America has been run by the same 80-year-olds, you know, for a long time. Literally. These people don't know what it means to fight in the digital age. They don't know what it means to go to Washington and actually get in the face of these politicians and tell them that what they're doing is wrong and they should stop. They don't know how to go after these people in their districts at election time. And frankly, while the NRA has been out here selling gun owners out by watching things like the assault weapons ban of 94 get passed, the Lautenberg Amendment, the bump stock ban, all of these things that have happened over the years, long before the American Firearms Association was started. None of those things were stopped by Gun Owners of America. So while they've been the recipient of a lot of people's money who are frustrated with the NRA for being a bunch of sold out, compromising losers, instead of taking that support as the call that it is, right? Okay, these people are coming to us to hold this line in this way and fight hard for them. Instead, it's, you know, we're going to sit here and tell everybody how we are no compromise, and watch this stuff get passed into law anyway. It's incredibly frustrating to watch. In my opinion, the American Firearms Association would have never been created if there was a federal Second Amendment organization that was doing the job.
Yeah.
You know, because frankly, Chris, you know what I'm talking about. I know there's a lot of members in the comment section who have been at state capitals with us and been in DC with us over the years. It takes a certain level. You get kind of this knot in your guts, this sort of awkward butterfly. It can be a difficult thing to overcome, but when you're walking towards these politicians, when you're about to testify in that committee, when you're standing in front of these politicians with a camera in their face and you're confronting them about their bad records, about their bad stance, they've got media all around them. They've got staffers with cameras in your face.
Oh yeah.
They're ready to go at it. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's 1000% necessary to make sure all of these politicians know that we as an organization are here. We're fighting you. We're not afraid of you. We're going to stand up against you. We're going to confront you. We're going to make sure everybody knows what you do, what you've done, the gun control you're pushing, the compromises you've pushed or supported. We're going to make sure everybody knows. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's what we do all the time. And it's why when these conversations are happening about gun control at the state level and at the federal level, yes, the media continues to use NRA as a boogeyman because it's good for their fundraising on the left. That's all that's about. It's a nice little boogeyman. But politicians don't sit there and go, oh boy, we better be careful about this because if we push this gun control, Gun Owners of America might be mad. These politicians don't give a damn. No. They don't care. And they don't sit there and say, oh, we better be careful because the NRA is going to be mad at us. No, because the NRA is going to support them no matter what happens. So you have an organization that supports bad politicians, and you have another organization that sits by and sort of lets things happen, doesn't get in their faces, doesn't do the job.
And it gets even
to me,
worse.
that's what's needed.
It gets even worse than that. And I'm sorry, I should have had it for this show. I didn't know we were going to, talk as exclusively and extensively about this as we did tonight. But somewhere I have seen a flow chart that shows the number of marriages between NRA staff and Capitol Hill staff. When you live in the swamp and your entire social life is in the swamp, It's just like at any state capitol. We talk about this all the time on Ohio Gun Owners and Pennsylvania Firearms Association, Minnesota Gun Rights, or whatever channel you're watching this on right now. We talk about all the time how like it's so tempting for the political class to think that reality is what happens underneath the dome. Like the whole political universe is about what happens there in the Capitol. It's the same in Washington, D.C. It's the same with the NRA. And over time, they've been there so damned long on Waples Mill Road in their $60 million penthouse freaking office complex. They begin to think that reality is what happens inside the freaking Beltway. So now NRA staff is marrying Congressional Hill staff, and this senator's daughter is marrying, this executive vice president of this division of the NRA. And you want to know why the NRA can't whip out both political guns and start hammering right now, politically speaking, at these U.S. senators? It's because their freaking staff is intermarried with these bastards.
Yeah.
They have sold their effing soul instead of representing their membership. And I'm sure there's some of this going on in the other groups. Instead of representing their membership to the politicians and holding that purity, no, what happens is now they are sitting there choking on this gun control, and they can't even freaking twitch.
It's
because
true.
of these entangling alliances that prevent them from saying a word.
I'll be totally honest. I don't particularly like shooting these kinds of videos. I don't like having to say these things. Just full stop. But we promised you a long time ago, years ago, when I first started with Minnesota Gun Rights, and then the American Firearms Association, Chris with Ohio Gun Owners in Pennsylvania.
Jeez.
When we started these groups many years ago, we promised you that we would tell you the truth. We'd shoot straight with you. And if that meant that the people who had to be called out were gun groups, we're going to call them out. And if that means, because people ask us, well, the NRA is sold out. What about Gun Owners of America? It's like, we can't sit here and go, oh, they're great. They're phenomenal. They're getting the job done. We can't tell you that because we promised we would not lie to you. We would shoot straight. And that if the day ever came, and we've said this before, and I'll say it again, if the day ever comes when the American Firearms Association or our state affiliates are standing up here telling you that we're going to support this gun control, or that we have to do this deal, or that we've brokered the best deal that we can, or if we go dead silent and say nothing and let all of these fights pass us by, as so many have done, that you should walk away. You should cancel your membership in the American Firearms Association. You should cut up your membership card, and you should tell your friends that AFA is no different than everybody else. That's what you should do. If you have principles, it's what you should do. And that's why we have promised that'll never happen with us, because we believe in this, because the future of our entire country depends on this. Because our children's future depends on this. It's not about the money. It's not about any of these things. It is about preserving the rights in the last free country on earth to protect ourselves from criminals and tyrants. The people who founded this country knew that the government itself could be the ones instigating tyranny on the people. And so the people who created this country, who formed it, our founding fathers said you should be able to own guns to thwart any effort to inflict this type of tyranny and to subjugate the people of America. And that's why we're here, to fight for that right. Because if that right is gone, when I'm an old man, when I've got white hair, when my kids are all grown up, then we've lost everything. And my children and my grandchildren are forced to live in a country that's going straight down the tubes and is falling. And I will not sit by in my young years and do nothing. And I won't sit here and tell you that the NRA is great. And I won't tell you that GOA is doing its job. And I won't tell you that the Republicans are fantastic and that thank God we have these rhinos in office. I won't do those things. We won't do those things to you because we won't lie to you. It's frustrating, but it's what it is. We're going to keep fighting for you. Go to joinafa.org, www.joinafa.org. Stand up and fight with us. We will continue to fight for you. We're going to keep this fight up throughout the rest of the next couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years, however long it takes. That's what we're going to go with. So, Chris, do you have any closing remarks? Otherwise, we're going to end this for now, and we'll be back very soon.
I don't have anything else to add to that. Thanks for watching, everybody, tonight. Please share this video. For those of you who are watching in Ohio, happy Constitutional Carry Day. You guys all earned it. Folks, we'll be back with more on all these developments as they come. And God bless you. We love you. We'll see you.
God bless you.